Welcome back to Drive Your Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Master Coach Carrie Marshall, and it's time to go after those goals.
Yeah, whether ready or not, life's coming hard, no breaks, no stop. And if you put me on the spot, don't get it twisted, I never drop. If you feel a bit out of control and out the box, here's a way that you could drive your thoughts. Turn this podcast on, it's a lock. Carrie Marshall on the clock.
What's up, everybody? I'm Carrie Marshall, certified master coach and goal expert, and today we are going to talk about goal blocking. Okay, so picture this. You're telling somebody about a goal or a dream that you've had for a really long time. You've decided to really go all in and tell them, and you really haven't talked to anybody else about it. So you're in the thick of it and you're telling them, oh, this is why I want this. It's so important to me. Here's who I think I'll be or why it's important. And they say this, I don't think that's for you. Or, yeah, I don't think that's going to work out. Okay, we've all been here before. And maybe we've been the person on the other end telling somebody that this isn't going to work. But I want you to kind of think about why we do this. This is what I call goal blocking. It's where we go out and we share our dreams and desires with other people, and then they instantly block that goal and tell us all of the reasons that it's not going to work. So we're going to talk about this from two different perspectives. Number one is we're going to talk about it from the goal blocker, that person telling you that it's not going to work. But then we're also going to talk about it from your perspective of like, what do I do when there's a goal blocker in my way? Okay. All right. So oftentimes when we're talking to people, let's say that it's a spouse. Oftentimes when we're talking about things that we want or desire, what happens is two different things happen. Number one is they start to include themselves into what it's going to take. So you might say that you want to start a business. Well, your spouse might come and say like, okay, what does that mean financially for us? How much is that going to cost? Like, what is that going to look like? So they start to include like their impact on them. That's the very first thing that everybody does. This is because we are all motivated by self. We all care, number one, about ourselves. Even in a relationship, we care about ourselves, number one. So when you go and talk to somebody about your goal or your dream, that's the first thing that's going to happen. Is oftentimes goal blockers are thinking about themselves and the impact that it's going to have on them. So that's number one, is to realize that a goal blocker is self-motivated, self-desired. All of us are, but that's sometimes the very first thing that happens. Number two is, once again, they think about themselves. So if you're saying like, I'm going to go and sing on stage, your goal blocker friend might say like, oh, that sounds scary. Well, what they're doing is they're using their life experience, how they feel, in order to kind of be like, yeah, that's not a great idea. So they block it once again from their perspective. The other thing that I see is that goal blockers really tell themselves that they're doing them and this other person a favor because they don't want to see them get hurt. This is usually coming from people that are very failure adverse, meaning that they don't like failure. They don't see failure as part of the process. And so when they go up against something, they get really, really worried about it. I had one of my clients that wanted to be in a pageant. She was really excited about pageants. She'd never done it before. She didn't grow up in it. She's in college and was like, I think this sounds really fun. Well, she said that her mom was very, very against the pageant and was like, I just don't think it's a good idea. Well, when we kind of talked it through, we could kind of start to see that her mom was very failure adverse. She was very against failing. And so she didn't want her daughter to have any failure. So when we're looking at somebody and we tell them our dreams and desires and they start to come up with all of these reasons why not, we want to kind of just realize that they are having their own thoughts and beliefs happening. So we always say that, circumstances happen, like let's use the pageant's happening. My client is like, this could be fun. This is a good opportunity. This is exciting. I want to try something new. Her mom is thinking to herself, she might fail. She might feel sad. She might have to, if she doesn't get it, how sad is she going to be? So she's kind of having these different thoughts, right? So when we come up with somebody that is a goal blocker, we want to just remember that they have their whole other set of beliefs going on for us. So what do we do with somebody that's a goal blocker? So let's talk about us, the dreamers and the desirers and the people that are successful goal getters, or whatever you want to call it. So how do we deal with people that are goal blockers? Number one is you can listen and not actually take any heed to it. So once again, I've talked about this before about like when you get feedback from people, look at the source. So first off, look at the source. Where's the source coming from? The second one is if it's coming from a valuable source, like what are you making it mean that they have some thoughts about it? And maybe where is it valid? I mean, maybe you want to look at it, but where are you just seeing that their own experiences and beliefs are coming in? And then the very last thing that you want to do is decide if it's that important to you to listen, that you're not going to do it or you're going to adjust it. That's it, really. Oftentimes what you can do though, is you can see like, thank you for your opinion. I appreciate you caring about me, and I'm still going to go after it. And here's what it's going to look like. So I'm married to a big dreamer. He has tons of dreams, tons of desires. And my mom mentioned one time, she said, how are you so good at just going all in with those? So I realized that one of my strengths is to really have full belief in people. Now, whether they do those things or not, it's none of my business, right? But one of the things that I've always done in our marriage is I've always been all in on the dreams. Dream big, dream wide, dream expansive. Whether I'm married to you or you're my kid or you're my nieces, nephews, whoever you are, clients, friends, absolute strangers. I have strangers on Instagram that like message me and say, hey, I follow you and you're so amazing at holding dreams for people. Like, here's my dream. And I always message back, amazing. This is awesome. So I've just decided and I'm all in for those. So when I see that somebody's a goal blocker, one of my clients wanted to buy a house in Hawaii and his wife was like, absolutely not. Here's all the reasons it's going to not work. I always say like, okay, but why do you want this? Why is it going to work? And then how are you going to just go and find the support that you need through it, whether it's with this person or somebody else? So when we talk about goal blocking, I just want you to be aware of when you're finding it happen in your life. We never want to go after a goal and have the goal blocking be the reason that this doesn't happen. So I'm just going to use this example because I see it a lot with women starting businesses. Is a lot of times what happens with women in business, and I'm just using women because it's what I've been coaching on for the last several months, is they'll start a business and then they look for validation through different people, right? They look through their partner, their husband, a best friend, their sister, and then they don't get it. They have been going to people that are goal blockers. It's never going to work. This was fun for you. Maybe it's just a hobby. That's a huge one that I hear. Maybe it's time to just see this as a hobby. So we want to make sure that when we find ourselves up against a goal block, that we're coming back to ourselves. Do I see that there's any validity in it? Or am I just seeing that I've always told myself that my partner, spouse, sister's right? That's one of the biggest things that I see is that you're going and sharing these with people that you actually respect, but then you've had a thought about them always being right. Well, what I want to offer you is maybe they're not right about your life. Maybe you're going to take your dreams and goals to the wrong people. What would you be willing to do if you went and that person said, yes, that's amazing. I love it for you. How are we going to do this? How can I support you in this? You might then have a house in Hawaii or a pageant completed or all of these different things because you went to the right place for your dreams and goals. So I want you to just, as you think about this, just be aware of when and who you're talking to about your goals and dreams. I love for you to be so confident and self-confident in your goal that you could tell anybody and that their thoughts and opinions won't matter to you. But I'll tell you that I know for sure that there are people in your life that their opinions matter to you. Absolutely. We all have those people. And so I want you to think about, how do you go and approach those people? how do they always interact with your wants and desires? If you have somebody that's always going to say no, maybe we should stop going to that person when we talk about the very first stages of your goals and dreams, which is really kind of playing around, imagining, dreaming about it, right? So goal blockers are really interesting because they really can be an indicator of finding obstacles before they're going to happen. That's another thing, is that it's not all bad. I absolutely have some goal blockers in my life that I absolutely intentionally go to because they help me see places that I might get stuck or obstacles that I haven't thought about. But I go very, very intentionally, and I don't tell them like, hey, I'm here for you to tell me all the reasons it's going to go wrong. I already know that they're going to do that. So what I do is I'll use that to my advantage. I go and I tell them, and then I'm like, here's what I want to do. Here's what I'm thinking it'll look like. And here's what I want to get from it. And then I'm like, tell me everything that you think about it. And they're like, oh, that sounds terrible. And I'm like, tell me why. And then they'll list out all the things. Well, what I'm doing is I'm actually mentally taking notes on things that I absolutely see, like, oh, I didn't think about that. Or yes, that could happen. I'll have to already solve for that right now. So goal blockers can actually be a benefit to you, but you need to work on your mindset around it. If you're going for validation for your goals, probably the wrong type of time to go to them. But if you're utilizing their information to be like, I wonder what I'm missing here, it could absolutely be to your benefit. So make sure that when you're talking about goals, dreams, and desires, number one, you're looking at who you're talking to and how they approach and talk to you about your goals. Number two, you're deciding and seeing that they have their own thoughts and beliefs about it and that yours could be separate. And number three, that you're going maybe intentionally to goal blockers in order to see some of the blind spots that you haven't seen before. So I know that goals, dreams, and desires are something that, we all have. And that sometimes you don't have somebody in your corner. Sometimes you're looking around and you're like, I don't actually have anybody that is there to be a champion of my goals. That's one of the reasons that I coach on goals. As a coach, I'm here to help you. Number one, support you through figuring out what your goal is, figuring out what the actionable items are. And number two, sometimes I'm holding that belief for you as you're figuring this out. So if you're interested in learning more about coaching and about how to coach around your goals and dreams, I'd love for you to come over and follow me on Instagram at Drive Your Thoughts Coaching. There's a lot of underscores in there. Drive Your Thoughts Coaching. You'll find me over there. And you can also find me at driveyourthoughts.com. I have so many different ways of working with me. If this is your first time to coaching, I have like a one-on-one session. I do classes. I have a membership that's coming up. So, if you're interested in going after those goals and dreams, absolutely come and find me and I'd be happy to help. Your goals don't need to be blocked by other people just because they have opinions. You can absolutely go after them and show them what's possible. This has been fun. We'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to this podcast episode. If you're ready to get in the driver's seat of your own life, you can come and follow me at Drive Your Thoughts Coaching on Instagram, or come and see more ways to work with me at driveyourthoughts.com.
Yeah, whether ready or not, life's coming hard, no breaks, no stop. And if you put me on the spot, don't get it twisted, I never drop. If you feel a bit out of control and out the box, here's a way that you could drive your thoughts. Turn this podcast on, it's a lock. Carrie Marshall on the clock.